Snow was falling from a black sky. The wind was loud and cold, like a scream from the sky itself. Mara held her baby close to her chest, trying to block the freezing air with her torn jacket. Her arms were weak, her lips blue, but she didn't stop rocking the baby. He was still breathing, just barely. The world around her was broken. Ruins of metal and glass stood like skeletons of forgotten cities. This was Earth, or what was left of it. The war had ended 6 months ago, but there were no winners, only the silence of snow and death. She walked slowly across the icy ground, her boots cracking frozen puddles. Every step was heavy, her legs shaking from hunger and cold. The baby whimpered, his little fingers curling in pain. There was no food, no shelter, no fire, only her love and a lullaby. She stopped under the frame of a fallen ship. Its body was torn open like a wound inside. She found a small corner protected from the wind. She sat down, curling herself. Around the baby, her breath was shallow, her heart weak, but she began to hum a song. It was the lullaby her mother once sang to her, a soft, warm melody. Even in this frozen hell, her voice cracked, but she kept singing. It was all she had left. Sleep now, little star. Night won't go far. Even in cold and dark, you are my spark. The baby's eyes blinked slowly. Tears froze on his cheeks. Mara kissed his forehead. I'm here, she whispered. I won't leave you. She knew it was a lie. Her body was shutting down. She hadn't eaten in days. The cold was too strong. She closed her eyes, still humming, her head resting on the cold wall. Then she heard something. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Footsteps, heavy ones, slow but steady. Too heavy for a human, too slow for a wild animal. She opened her eyes, heart racing. The snow outside was moving. A shape was walking toward her, tall metal, glowing with blue lines. Her breath caught in her throat. It was a machine, an alien warbot. One of them. She tried to move, pulling the baby close. But her legs refused to obey. She was too weak to run. The machine stepped into the wreckage, its head turning with a quiet buzz. It looked at her, then at the baby. A moment passed, silent and sharp. Mara held her breath, waiting for death. Then the machine knelt down. Its arms moved slowly, and in a deep, glitchy voice, it said, "Is baby alive?" She stared at it, too shocked to answer. "Please," she whispered, "don't hurt him." The machine did not attack. Instead, it opened a small panel in its chest. Heat flowed out, soft, warm. Like a summer wind, it reached toward the baby. Mara flinched, but the machine didn't touch her. It just placed the heat source near the baby's blanket. The baby stopped crying. His face relaxed. His hands opened. Warmth returned to his tiny fingers. Mara looked up, confused. "You're helping?" she asked. The machine's lights flickered. "Protect. Human infant. Priority code 7, it said. Then it paused, voice softer. "You sang." "Why?" Mara blinked. "I had nothing else," she said. "He was dying." The machine was silent for a long moment. Then it said, "I remember." Music. She looked at it carefully. This was not normal. Alien bots were cold, cruel, built to destroy. But this one, something was different. "What are you?" she asked. "I don't know," it replied. "I was damaged. Now I feel strange." Suddenly, the machine turned its head sharply. A high-pitched beep echoed from its chest. "Alert," it said. "They are coming." "Who?" Mara whispered. "Others," it said. "Enemy patrol, no mercy, run." Mara tried to stand, holding the baby tight. Her knees gave out. She cried, "I can't." The machine reached down. "Then I will carry you," it said. Before she could protest, it gently lifted her and the baby in its metal arms. It turned, moving fast. Through the snow, behind them, red lights appeared in the sky, hunting, scanning, burning, as they ran into the cold night. Mara whispered one more line of her song. Even in dark, you are my spark, and the machine, without looking back, replied, I will remember that. Asterisk the wind screamed louder as the machine moved through the frozen ruins. Its arms held Mara, and the baby close to its chest, where heat still glowed softly. Red scanner beams swept across the sky behind them. The enemy was near. Mara couldn't stop shaking. Not just from the cold, but from fear. She was being carried by a war machine, an alien bot built to kill humans. Yet it hadn't hurt her. It had saved her child. The machine's feet were heavy, but it moved fast, with each step. Snow cracked beneath them. Mara looked up at its cold metal face. Why? Are you helping us? She asked again. The machine didn't answer. It only said, shelter. Close, they reached a broken wall, part of a collapsed building. The machine pushed debris aside and entered a hidden space underground. It was dark but warmer. Old power lines sparked in the ceiling. There were broken chairs, shattered screens, and empty food cans. Somewhere, rats scurried. The machine placed Mara on the floor gently. She held her baby tightly. He was warmer now, breathing softer. I need answers, Mara said, voice firm despite her pain. Who sent you? Are you spying? On us? The machine turned its head slowly. No one sent me, it said. I was left behind, like you. Mara blinked. You were abandoned. The machine nodded. I was damaged during the final battle. I was ordered to return, but something changed. Its glowing eyes dimmed for a moment, like thinking. I saw human child. During the war, she was crying, holding a small toy. I didn't understand, but now I remember the sound. Mara stared at it, shocked. You remember her? Yes, it said. The sound made something break inside me. Something locked. She was silent. This was impossible. Alien machines didn't feel, didn't remember, didn't protect, and yet this one did. What's your name? She asked. It paused, gears clicking softly. I don't have a name, it said. Model code is ZR3719. That's not a name, she said softly. Too cold, she looked at her baby, then back at the machine. You need a name? The machine tilted its head. Why? Because, she said, you saved my child. Only someone with a heart does that. I'll call you Zero. The machine blinked. Zero, it repeated. A beginning from nothing. Suddenly, a sharp beep rang out from the machine's chest. It turned its head to the tunnel behind them. Warning, it said, enemy scouts nearby. They are not like me. Mara felt her heart drop. They'll kill us. Yes, Zero said. They do not understand. Feeling, he moved quickly, pulling a broken locker in front of the tunnel door. He turned to Mara. You must rest. I can't, she said. Not now. You must, he replied. Your body is weak. Your baby needs your strength. I will protect you. Mara hesitated, but her body was giving up. She leaned back against the cold wall. Eyes heavy. Don't leave us, she whispered. I won't, Zero said. Standing guard like a silent statue, hours passed. Mara drifted between sleep and pain. The baby stayed quiet in her arms, and Zero stood, unmoving, watching the tunnel. Then, the ground shook. A rumble, soft at first, then louder. Zero's eyes turned red. They found us, he said. Mara woke up, startled. What? They tracked. The heat? Zero said. I must lead them away. No. She cried, you'll be destroyed. Zero stepped forward. I am not important. You and the child. You are the future. She felt tears sting her eyes, but I don't even know why. Zero paused again. There is something you must see. From a panel in his chest, a small hologram appeared. It showed an image of a man, Mara's father, General Harlan Voss, leader of Earth's last defense fleet. Mara gasped. That's my father. He encoded something. Zero said, in your DNA. A key. A key to what? She asked to call them back. Zero said, to bring the fleet, to bring hope. Mara stared at him in disbelief. You knew my father? I served under him, Zero said. I failed him once. I will not fail again. He turned to the tunnel, where red lights now flickered in the darkness. I must go, he said. Protect the child. And without waiting, Zero rushed into the shadows, metal feet hitting stone like a drumbeat of war. Mara was left in silence, holding her baby. She looked at the hologram again. Her father was smiling. Outside, lasers lit the sky, and somewhere in the dark, a machine with a human heart was fighting for her, for the baby, for Earth. The tunnel shook again. Mara gripped her baby tighter. A thin layer of snow had crept into the cracks of the old shelter. The warmth from Zero was gone. So was the sound of his voice. But the silence didn't feel safe. It felt like something was watching, waiting, breathing. She pressed her back to the cold wall. Her baby stirred in her arms, whimpering softly. She whispered, "It's okay." But even she didn't believe it. Far above, through cracks in the ceiling, she saw faint red lights sweeping the ruins. The machines were searching, not for metal, but for life. For her, she looked down at her child's face, pale but calm. He didn't know the world was ending. He didn't know death was hunting them. He just wanted warmth and love. A soft metal click echoed from deep inside the tunnel. Then another. Footsteps, not Zero's, too fast, too sharp, too many. Mara held her breath. From the darkness came shapes, not like Zero, smaller, faster, sharper. They moved like insects. With long legs and glowing red eyes, scout units, alien patrols designed to kill survivors on sight. One of them stopped near the locker that Zero had moved. It scanned the room, its red light passing over Mara's corner. She froze. Her baby whimpered again. Just a small sound, but in this silence, it was thunder. The scout turned. It heard. It saw, and it let out a screech like tearing metal. Mara ducked low, covering her child. "No, please," she cried. The scout jumped forward, blades clicking open, but then, boom. A blast of light tore through the tunnel. Sparks flew, stone cracked, metal screamed. The scout shattered into burning pieces. From the smoke, a giant shadow appeared. Zero, his body was damaged. Sparks flying from his shoulder, but his eyes were glowing bright blue. And in his hands, a plasma cannon taken from the enemy. "Target neutralized," he said, voice heavy with anger. More scouts rushed in. Zero stepped in front of Mara like a wall of steel. His voice dropped lower. Protecting the child is priority. With brutal speed, Zero attacked. Blasts echoed, metal flew, tunnels shook, but there were too many. Too fast, too close. Zero turned to Mara. "This shelter will not hold. There is one place left, the deep line." "What's the deep line?" she asked, shouting over the chaos. "Old human transport system, underground train tunnels." Zero said, "Long forgotten, but still active." He grabbed a metal hatch near the floor and pulled it open. A dark hole stared back at them, deep and cold. But it was their only chance. Zero helped Mara down first, handing her the baby, then he followed, sealing the hatch behind them. Above them, the tunnel collapsed from enemy fire. But below silence, they were inside the deep line. The air was thick with dust. Flickering emergency lights lit the endless tunnel ahead. Old train tracks stretched into the dark and far away. Something hummed. Mara sat against the wall. Shaking, Zero knelt beside her. His armor cracked and sparking. She looked at him. "You're hurt. I will survive," he said. "Your safety is the mission." She stared into the dark tunnel. "Where does this place lead?" "To something we need," Zero said. "A human Titan unit." Mara's eyes widened. "A Titan? Those are myths. They are real." Zero replied, "Your father commanded one. One still sleeps below, waiting." She looked at her. "Baby, sleeping now despite the cold. Then we wake it," she said. Zero stood. "Lifting a broken rail from the ground, as long as I can move," he said. "Nothing will stop us." But deep in the shadows behind them, a red light blinked. On, and a whisper came from the dark. Not metal, not machine, but a voice, faint, echoing, broken. "Why do you run? Child of fire." Mara looked up, her blood freezing again. Zero turned, raising his weapon, and the shadows answered with a hiss. They were not alone in the deep line. Asterisk, the sound came again. A whisper in the darkness. "Child of fire. You should not be here." Mara froze, clutching her baby close. The voice didn't sound like a machine. It sounded older, deeper, like a ghost speaking through steel. Zero stood in front of her. Scanning the tunnel, unknown signal detected, he said, "Origin. Below us, below." Mara whispered. She looked down at the steel floor under her feet. It was vibrating, very softly, like something was breathing. Zero stepped forward slowly. His damaged hand brushed the wall. Suddenly, a line of ancient lights flickered too. Life along the tunnel walls. One by one, they lit the path ahead. The tunnel grew wider as they moved. Old cables hung like roots from the ceiling. Strange markings lined the walls. Not alien, not machine, but human, symbols of Earth's last military division. The Deep Core Guardians. Mara's heart beat faster. She had seen those same symbols. In her father's notebooks, this wasn't just an old train tunnel. This was a hidden war vault. Zero stopped near a large sealed door, round and heavy. The words above it were faded, but readable. TITA 009. Status sleep mode, Titan. Mara breathed. Her baby shifted in her arms. Eyes fluttering open, he made a small sound, soft and pure. A cry, but also something more. The steel beneath them thumped, a low pulse like a heart. Slowly waking, then the voice returned. Not from the shadows, but from the door itself. Human DNA. Verified child of General Voss. Confirmed. Welcome back. Mara stepped back, eyes wide. "You know who I am." The door hissed, gears spinning. Old systems rebooting. The steel began to open. Slow, loud, powerful. Inside was a massive chamber, and at the center of it stood something that took her breath away. A giant figure, asleep in the dark. 10 meters tall, covered in heavy armor. Its surface was cracked with age, but it still hummed with power. Titan 09. A mech built not to destroy planets, but to protect. Humanity's last hope. Zero stared at it silently. "This is the last one," he said. The others were destroyed. Mara walked forward slowly. The baby's cry echoed in the chamber again, and in response, the Titan's chest lit up. Lights flickered on its arms, legs, core. Its head turned slightly. And then it spoke. A deep voice, human-like, but mechanical. Vocal signature matched. Emotional signal detected. Booting primary protocol, the Titan knelt slowly. Its giant hands lowering toward Mara, not to harm, but to reach. A hologram shimmered above its palm. Her father appeared, not real, just a recorded message. "Hello, Mara," he said. "If you're seeing this, it means Earth has fallen. And you're all that remains. This Titan was programmed to protect you and the child. Because the child is the key." Mara's lips trembled. She looked at her baby, then back at the image. "My son." Yes. The recording continued. Your child carries what the enemy fears most. Not a weapon, not a code, but something ancient. Something powerful. Human emotion. Zero blinked slowly. Hope, he said. Mara nodded. Tears in her eyes. Love. Suddenly alarms blared. Zero turned sharply, scanning the tunnel. They found the deep line, he said. Enemy forces inbound, multiple life signatures approaching fast. The Titan stood to full height. Its armor clicked into place, engines roaring to life, engaging defense mode, it said. Protecting the last light, the chamber shook. Walls cracked, lights flashed red. Zero stepped beside the Titan. His arm transformed, no longer broken, but reforged by Titan tech. I will fight with you, he said. I remember now. Mara looked at them both. One machine with a soul. One Titan with a mission, and her, a mother with a child the enemy wanted to erase. She tightened her grip on her baby and whispered, "We're not running anymore," above them. Shadows dropped into the chamber, red eyes glowing, claws sharp. The enemy had arrived, but this time humanity would answer, with steel, with memory, with a heartbeat in the dark. The Titan raised its arms. A wave of blue light spread from its chest, as if it was drawing a line in the sand. A firewall, not made of code, but of energy and memory. Outside the barrier, enemy units screeched. They moved like shadows, with claws, sharp, fast, deadly, but they could not step through the light. Yet, they waited, circling the chamber like wolves, watching, testing, searching for weakness. Inside the Titan's light, Mara stood with her baby. Zero stood beside her, silent. But alert, the Titan's voice echoed through the chamber. Firewall active, temporary shield. 10 minutes, 10 minutes. That was all the time they had left. Mara looked at her baby's face. He was calm, but his tiny hand touched her chest. Right above her heart, she turned to Zero. Why are they waiting? She asked. They know, he said. They can't destroy what they fear. They're afraid of what's inside your son. The signal? She asked. Zero nodded. His DNA carries a pattern. A legacy program, your father's last command. It's more than code. It's emotion turned into frequency. The last firewall is him. Mara's knees felt weak. You mean? He is the signal. Yes, Zero said. If the child cries, the galaxy will hear. She looked at her baby, the last voice Earth could send. Not a soldier, not a weapon, but a cry of pure life. Zero stepped closer to the Titan. Its light scanned him. And suddenly, a memory opened. An image, blurry and broken. A lab full of light and glass. Scientists working. Her father standing beside a younger man. That man was Zero, before the machine, before the war. Mara's eyes widened. You? We're human. Zero turned his head slowly. Yes, he said. I volunteered for Project Echo, a soldier's mind uploaded into alien tech to fight them from within. But you were lost, she whispered. He nodded. I forgot. Everything, until I heard your song. Mara felt tears in her eyes again. You remembered. Because of love, Zero looked at the child. I failed your mother, he said, voice heavy. She was my sister. Mara gasped. No. I couldn't save her, Zero said. But I can save you. Outside the firewall, the shadows grew louder, their voices twisted, mimicking human sounds, laughter, crying, begging. Trying to break their will, the Titan systems glowed brighter, but the light was flickering now. The firewall wouldn't last. Mara turned to the Titan. What do we do? There is a deep signal tower beneath this chamber, it said. If activated by your voice and the child's signal, it will broadcast across the stars. The fleet will come. Zero looked down at his arms. One was now fused with Titan metal. He was no longer human, no longer machine. He was something in between a bridge. He opened a hatch near the Titan's base. "Go," he said to Mara. "I'll hold them off." "No," she said. "I'm not leaving you again." Zero looked at her. "This is not the end." He said this is how the story continues. Not with weapons, but with a child's cry. She hesitated, then slowly stepped into the hatch. Stairs led downward into deep, echoing darkness. She took one last look at Zero. He saluted. A soldier's goodbye. She nodded a daughter's thanks. The firewall exploded. The chamber was flooded with red light and metal claws, and then Zero roared. Not like a machine, but like a man remembering who he was. He charged, drawing every enemy toward him. Every strike was brutal, every blow filled with memory. Every step a promise. Below, Mara reached the signal tower, old and broken. It came to life with the baby's touch. She stood before it and began to sing, soft, cracked, but full of meaning. The same lullaby from the snow, but now it echoed through steel, through circuits, through space, and somewhere far across the stars. A human fleet woke from silent sleep, the final firewall. Head opened, the old signal tower groaned. Its lights flickered like dying stars. But Mara stood tall beneath it, her arms wrapped around the baby, her voice still echoing through the steel. She had just finished the lullaby, but the air around her felt changed, charged, like the room itself was breathing, and then the signal tower responded. It didn't flash, it felt, it listened, it sent something out, not words, not data, but a feeling, hope, pain, love. Everything she sang was turned into a sound too deep for machines to fake. A sound only the stars could carry. Above her, the battle was still raging. Screams of metal, blasts of light. But she didn't hear Zero anymore. Only silence. And that silence was heavier than thunder. "Zero," she whispered. But there was no answer. Suddenly, the room around her changed. The signal tower opened like a flower of light. A soft glow wrapped her and the baby, and a hologram formed. It wasn't her father this time. It was Zero, but not as a machine, as a human, young, full of fire. Wearing Earth's military armor, he looked at her with soft eyes, alive, if you're seeing this. The hologram said, "It means I've finally remembered who I was. I am Lieutenant Kale Voss." "Your uncle?" Mara gasped. Tears rose without warning. She fell to her knees, hugging the baby tighter. Her family, her blood, had been beside her all this time. Kale's voice continued. "They told me the aliens couldn't be beaten with weapons. They said the only way was to become what they feared, to upload my mind into their tech, to infect them from the inside." He looked down. "They erased my memories, but a part of me refused to forget. That part woke up when I heard you sing." The room dimmed slightly. The baby reached toward the hologram. His hand passed through it, but something reacted. A pulse shot from the tower. It lit the walls with strange code. Symbols moving like frozen fire. Not alien, not human. Something new. Mara stood up, staring. "What is this?" A soft voice answered behind her. Not Kale's, not her father's. Something ancient inside the tower itself. "This is the frozen code, the last language, a signal formed from emotion and memory. It cannot be copied, cannot be silenced." Mara turned slowly. "Who are you?" "I am the echo of those who came before," the voice said. "This place remembers every human who died in the war. And now through your child they speak again." Suddenly, the floor rumbled. Far above, something massive shook. The surface, a thundering roar rolled down the tunnels. Then a voice crackled through the coms. Rough, static-filled, but human. "This is Commander Ryan of the Earth Fleet. Signal received, tracking origin." Approaching the deep line zone, Mara gasped. They heard us. But the frozen code wasn't finished. Symbols poured down the tower walls. Images formed cities. Once lost, fleets destroyed, soldiers fading, and in all of them, a light kept. Flickering emotion, the code was showing her the truth. The enemy hadn't feared weapons, they feared feeling, because their kind had erased it long ago, and now. It was their weakness, your baby, the voice said. He carries the legacy. He is not just human, he is evolved, emotion-coded from birth. Mara trembled. What do I do? You protect him until he can speak his own truth, until he can choose what to sing into the stars. The light dimmed, the code froze mid-air. And the room grew cold again. Then one last pulse, a goodbye. Kale's voice returned. If I'm gone, I tell him who I was. Tell him. I died with a name, and with love in my circuits. The hologram faded. Silence returned. Mara stood still. Then whispered, I'll tell him everything, Kale. I promise, behind her. The Titan began to stir again, and above. The sound of approaching ships. Earth was no longer silent. The stars had heard, and humanity was on its way. Above the deep-line chamber, the sky had changed, no longer black and silent. It now glowed with streaks of silver and fire. Earth's forgotten fleet had returned from the surface to the stars. A signal echoed. It wasn't a command. It wasn't an order. It was a song, a lullaby, one sung by a mother in the snow, one heard by a machine with a soul, one carried by a child who didn't know he had saved the world. Inside the Titan's chamber, Mara looked up as metal doors split open above. Warm light poured in, not from war machines, but from home. Dropships descended slowly, their blue lights sweeping across the ruins, and for the first time in a long time Earth was no longer alone. A voice cracked through the old signal tower. This is Admiral Celis of the Sol Uplink Fleet. We received the emotion code burst. Confirming identity, Mara Voss, child of General Harlan. Your signal woke everyone. Mara didn't answer at first. She was staring at Zero's shattered remains near the far wall. Smoke rose from his frame, but there was no movement, no glow, only silence. She walked over slowly. Kneeling down, she placed her hand on his cold chest. You came back, she whispered. You remembered us. Her baby reached out and touched Zero's finger, and for just a moment, a tiny light flickered behind the machine's eye. Then it went dark again, but not empty, not hollow. A soft vibration hummed from the Titan's chest. It spoke for the last time. Signal complete. Emotion secured. Humanity confirmed. The chamber shook gently as recovery bots landed around them. Medical drones scanned Mara and the child, but none could understand what the child had done, what his cry had carried. Admiral Celis's voice returned. Titan class. Unit confirmed as Kale Voss. Status: deceased. Emotion seed archived. Mara stood slowly. She looked at the sky through the broken ceiling, then down at her baby, and sang, one last time. Sleep now, little star. Night won't go far. Even in cold and dark, you are my spark. The baby looked up and smiled for the first time, as if he remembered the voice that had carried him through storm and silence. Above, thousands of ships circled the planet, scanning, landing, rebuilding, and far beyond. Deep in the void between galaxies, the enemies who once silenced Earth felt a strange signal spreading, one they couldn't decode, couldn't block, couldn't fight, because it set. Wasn't made of metal or fire. It was made of feeling. Her song was now part of the stars, and every system it reached lit up one by one, not with war, but with remembrance. And the return of something the machines had long forgotten. A mother's love, a soldier's memory, a child's cry, and the code that made humans human. The Titan's body was buried beneath the signal tower, its name carved in steel. Kale Voss, the first machine to remember, and the child grew up with stories of a robot who once held him in a storm. and listen to a song that saved the world.